This is ATN Global News. First, the headlines. Rivers State government denies blocking Renewed Hope Stadium rally. On the police dismantle human trafficking network rescue victims. Rivers State Tinubu calls for reactivation of regional standby force. Nigeria-US deepen commercial partnership for economic growth. US government enters partial shutdown after budget deadlock. Oshimen consoles Chukwueze in Didi over parents' death. Actress Funke Akindele slams critics over dancing marketing style. Rivers State government has dismissed claims that it denied the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, and Rivers State coordinator of the Renewed Hope ambassadors Desmond Akawor access to the Yakubu Gowon Stadium in Port Harcourt for a political event. The government said the allegation is false and misleading, explaining that the stadium is currently undergoing reconstruction and is unsafe for public use. Akawo had alleged that on Friday that the state government blocked the inauguration of the Renewed Hope ambassadors at the stadium, forcing the event to be relocated to the capital Lechi Amadi Polytechnic. The claim was later echoed by Wike, who warned that supporters could possibly gain access to the facility if denied again. Reacting to the allegations, the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Information and Communications, Honor Sirawu, said the apologies. Speaking to journalists after an inspection tour of the stadium, Sirawu said the scale of ongoing reconstruction work makes the facility unsuitable for any public gathering at this time. Also speaking, the Commissioner for Sports, Christopher Green, said his office did not receive any formal application for the use of the stadium, describing the allegation as unfounded. The site engineer overseeing the project, Michael Ebitaya, warned that heavy human traffic could damage underground installations beneath the pitch and pose serious safety risks, particularly in the VIP sections. Chairman of the Rivers State Elders Council, Ferdinand Alabraba, has assured that the council will work with the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, to ensure the re-election of President Bola Tinubu in 2027. Alabraba said the Rivers State Elders Council will collaborate with the Rainbow Coalition in the state to mobilize support for Tinubu's second-term bid. The 6-year-old elder statesman made the remarks during the inauguration of senatorial and local government area coordinators of the Rivers State Renewed Hope ambassadors held in Port Harcourt. He noted that as far back as 2023, Wike had guided the council to align with the broader political family, even at a time when they were operating within a single-party framework. According to him, the Rivers State Elders Council now reflects a rainbow coalition comprising members drawn from both the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressives Congress, united around a common goal. Alabraba said the group is committed to showcasing the president's legacies and reforms, which he believes are aimed at improving Nigeria while working to get towards Tinubu's re-election in 2027. He added that the council remains fully committed to Wike's leadership and we mobilize support down to the grassroots level, citing what he described as the benefits Rivers State has enjoyed under the current administration. Edo State chapter of the People's Democratic Party, loyal to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, and the party's South Vice Chairman Chief Dan Obe, has welcomed the Federal High Court's ruling nullifying the party's recently held national convention. In a statement issued on Saturday, the state chairman of the faction Nosakare Ogieva Okumbo described the judgment as a new dawn for unity, order and progress within the party. He called on party members to rally behind Abdurrahman Mohammed as national chairman and Samuel Anyamu as national secretary. According to the statement, the ruling provides judicial clarity and reinforces internal order, constitutional due process and unity within the PDP, while restoring confidence among party members nationwide. The faction congratulated Abdurrahman Mohammed on what he described as the affirmation of his leadership, praising his reconciliation efforts and commitment to rebuilding party structures across the country. It also said the confirmation of Senator Anyanwu strengthens the party's administrative framework and enhances coordination ahead of future electoral contests. The group urged all PDP members and stakeholders to unite behind the affirmed National Caretaker Committee, stressing that unity is essential to repositioning the party and restoring its national appeal. On Friday, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja, in Ibadan, notified the PDP National Convention held on November 15, 2025 and barred Kabiru Turaki and others from parading themselves as national officers of the party. The ruling is the latest development in the ongoing leadership dispute within the PDP, which has resulted in factional divisions and legal battles over the party's national leadership. Edo State Governor Monday Kwebelo has directed the 18 local government chairmen in the state to erect a total of 360 campaign billboards in support of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's re-election bid. The directive was given during the inauguration of the Edo State chapter of the National Renewed Hope Initiative. Governor Okwebelo said each local government chairman is expected to erect at least 20 billboards in their respective areas to ensure that the President's renewed hope message reaches grassroots communities, religious institutions, churches and mosques across the state. Commending President Tinubu's reforms in sectors such as petroleum, security, education and the economy, the governor described the President as a performing leader whose policies are already transforming the country. He urged those residents to support the President's return to Ashu Rock for a second term, expressing confidence that citizens across all demographics are ready to mobilize massively for the campaign. Okwebelo also said the strength of the All Progressives Congress nationwide has further boosted confidence ahead of the 2027 general election. Commissioner of Police in Abia State, Dan Ladi Issa, has warned officers in the command to strictly comply with laws and regulations guiding the Nigeria Police Force, particularly the force's social media policy. The CP gave the warning while addressing officers during a strategic conference at the Police Officers' Mess in Umuahia. He cited a recent incident in Delta State where a police sergeant was demoted for violating the NPF social media policy, stressing that similar misconduct would not be tolerated in Abia State. CP Issa also cautioned officers against involvement in political or party-related activities, reiterating that the police must remain neutral at all times. He directed area commanders and divisional police officers to promptly report and brief him on any incident involving political parties before taking action. The police commissioner further warned against unlawful detention of suspects, noting that except in capital offences, suspects must not be detained longer than legally required. Issa cautioned officers against extortion, drunkenness, illegal roadblocks, and unauthorized duties, charging supervising officers to effectively monitor their subordinates to avoid vicarious liability. Addressing inspectors and rank-and-file officers, he urged them to remain exemplary, professional, and civil in their dealings with members of the public. CP also commended officers of the Abia State Command for their performance during the Christmas and New Year celebrations, noting their role in maintaining peace and security across the state. Ebonyi State Governor Francis Nwifuru has ordered the removal of traditional rulers in the Amasiri clan of Apibo local government area and directed the withdrawal of their staff of office. The governor also sacked the commissioner for tertiary education from the area, Amari Omaka, and dissolved the entire political and traditional leadership structure of the Amasiri community. The actions followed the violent attack on Okporojo in Osho Eda community, Eda local government area, where 4 persons were allegedly beheaded with their heads taken away by assailants said to be from the Amasiri clan. Governor Nwifuru gave the directives on Saturday during an on-the-spot assessment visit to Okporojo, where he met with residents, community leaders, security agencies, and government officials. Describing the incident as unfortunate and barbaric, the governor said such acts would not be tolerated in Ebonyi State, assuring that perpetrators would be decisively dealt with. He urged residents to remain calm and avoid reprisals, warning that retaliation would only escalate the crisis. According to him, government actions would be firm but guided by the need to restore peace. Nwifuru said the conflict had lingered for years despite several reconciliation efforts, including boundary agreements which he noted were reportedly violated. As part of immediate measures, the governor announced the dissolution of the Amasiri Town Development Union and its executive members, the withdrawal of the traditional rulers certificate, and the removal of all village heads in the Amasiri autonomous community. He further ordered the sack of all political appointees from Amasiri, ranging from management committee members to commissioners serving in his administration. Ondo State Police Command has arrested 6 suspects and rescued 14 victims in 2 separate cases of transnational human trafficking across the state. The command spokesperson, Abayomi Jimo, disclosed this in a statement issued on Saturday. According to the statement, the first case was reported on January 22, 2026 by Togolese national Mial Yaoli at the Yaba police station in Ondo State City. Yaoli said he was lured from Togo to Nigeria under the guise of securing employment in Canada. Police investigations revealed that he was allegedly deceived by one Shodia Potolo Fidel, currently at large, who claimed to be residing in Canada. The DSP Jimon said police operatives acted swiftly, arresting 6 suspects and rescuing 3 victims in connection with the incident. Items recovered led to the identification of the suspects, including the landlord of the premises where the illegal operation was carried out. In a separate case, on January 23, 2026, a report initially filed as suspected banditry at the Obale Divisional Headquarters in Akure North local government area was transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department for further investigation. Preliminary findings showed that the suspects were illegal immigrants from the Republic of Chad, but not bandits as first alleged. Investigations revealed that the principal suspect, Umaru Baba, allegedly recruited and harbored 12 Chadian nationals under the guise of online marketing jobs. Police said the victims were trafficked through the Cameroonian border and housed illegally in Ondo State. The police spokesperson said investigations are ongoing to arrest fleeing suspects, while the rescued victims will be handed over to their respective embassies for repatriation and further diplomatic action. The Lagos Waste Management Authority has arrested several cart pushers for illegally dumping refuse along the Lagos-Badagry Expressway in the Ojo area of Lagos State. The arrest followed the discovery of an unauthorized dump site during a routine monitoring exercise carried out by Loma's Waste Investigation, Surveillance and Enforcement Team under the Ijora Sheme Division. In a statement issued in Lagos, Loma's Director of Public Affairs, Mokaila Sanusi, said the suspects were apprehended while unlawfully disposing of waste at the location. He explained that the operation was led by the head of the Ijora Sheme Division, Oladeji Adebayo. The managing director of Loma, Muyiwa Badegesin, warned that the activities of unregulated waste handlers pose serious environmental risks and undermine Lagos State's waste management framework. He stressed that domestic waste collection in Lagos is exclusively handled by registered private sector participation operators and advised residents against patronizing cart pushers and other unauthorized waste collectors. Badegesin assured residents that surveillance and enforcement activities would be sustained across identified flashpoints in the state, adding that offenders would be arrested and prosecuted in line with environmental sanitation laws. He further urged residents to bag their waste properly, register with approved PSP operators, and report illegal dumping through Loma's official channels. Loma also reiterated the warning on its official X handle, stating that enforcement operations against illegal dumping remain ongoing across Lagos. Caretaker Committee of the People's Democratic Party in Oyo State has urged the faction of the party led by Tanimu Turaki to embrace reconciliation rather than pursue further legal battles. The chairman of the Oyo State PDP Caretaker Committee, Abdurrahman Akinosho, made a call in a statement issued on Friday evening. This follows a judgment by the Federal High Court sitting in Ibadan, which nullified the PDP National Convention held in the city between November 15 and 16, 2025. The court, presided over by Justice Uche Agomo, ruled that the convention and its outcomes were illegal and subsequently affirmed the Caretaker Committee as a lawful governing body of the party. Reacting to the judgment, Akinosho said the party remains committed to unity and democratic principles, urging the Turaki-led faction to seek reconciliation in the interest of the party. He also reaffirmed the Oyo State Caretaker Committee's support for the PDP National Caretaker Committee and pledged continued efforts toward rebuilding party structures ahead of the 2027 general elections. Akinosho called on all PDP members to rally behind the party's recognized leadership and focus on strengthening internal cohesion for future electoral success. Kano State Governor Abba Yusuf has dismissed reports suggesting that the Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi, may be removed from the throne. The governor said there is absolutely no plan or agreement to unseat the Emir. This clarification was given by the Director General of Media and Publicity to the governor, Sanusi Bature, during an interview with Weekend Trust. Bature described the renewed speculation as baseless and driven by misinformation from individuals he said did not mean well for Kano State. He explained that Emir Sanusi's appointment followed the repeal of the Emirates law and that there is no plan at the executive level to amend the law again. According to him, political development, including defections to the All Progressives Congress, will not affect the Emir's status. He stressed that Emir Sanusi remains the Emir of Kano with no intention by the state government to replace or substitute him. Niger State Governor Mohammed Umaru Bago has directed top public and political office holders in the state to embark on massive statewide mobilization to encourage citizens to participate in the ongoing continuous voter registration exercise. The directive was contained in a statement issued by the Secretary to the Government of Niger State, Abubakar Usman. According to the statement, Governor Bago stressed that the continuous voter registration exercise is critical to good governance, democratic consolidation, and national development, especially given the limited time allotted by the Independent National Electoral Commission. The governor urged all relevant stakeholders to accord the exercise the seriousness it deserves, directing commissioners, permanent secretaries, heads of parastatals, and political appointees to intensify awareness campaigns. He said officials are expected to mobilize eligible citizens at the ward and local government levels to register, transfer, or update their voter details. The statement added that affected officials should leverage their offices and community structures to encourage participation, particularly among first-time voters and those requiring updates to their voter information. Governor Bago also directed all political appointees, regardless of status, to actively assist in the ongoing electronic membership registration of the All Progressives Congress, APC, in the state. He said the move is aimed at strengthening the party's grassroots structure and deepening internal democracy. The statement expressed confidence that the cooperation of the government officials will significantly boost civic participation and democratic development in Niger State. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We return after this break. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. Now to the rest of our stories. President Bola Tinubu has called for the reactivation of a regional standby force to strengthen collective security efforts across West Africa and the Sahel. The president made the call in a statement delivered on Nigeria's behalf by the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Bianca Odumegu Ojukwu, at a regional security conference held in Accra, Ghana. Tinubu urged countries in the region to leverage Nigeria's National Counter-Terrorism Center in Abuja as a hub for intelligence, coordination and joint operations. He reaffirmed Nigeria's commitment to regional peace and stability, stressing the need for stronger multilateral cooperation to address the worsening security situation in the Sahel. The president warned that terrorist groups are increasingly exploiting cyberspace for misinformation and disinformation, undermining security across the region. He called on West African states to collaborate with Nigeria in countering cyber-enabled threats. Tinubu noted that security in part of West Africa remains volatile, with rising casualties, including women and children. He also raised concerns about the possible relocation of drug cartels to weaker jurisdictions in the region, warning that alliances between traffickers and insurgents could further destabilize West Africa. The president urged ECOWAS and AES states to de-escalate political tensions, separate politics from security cooperation, and adopt inclusive strategies that address the root causes of instability, including poverty, governance challenges, and marginalization. Tinubu expressed optimism that deliberations at the Accra conference will lead to a sustainable and unified regional counter-terrorism framework. Troops of the Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Harden Kai have recorded major operational successes across the Northeast, neutralizing high-value terrorist targets and disrupting insurgents' activities through sustained intelligence-driven operations. In a statement, the media information officer of the Theater Command, Sani Uba, confirmed the killing of Julai Bib, a top commander of Islamic State West Africa province operating within the Gudba axis of the Timbuktu Triangle. He said the terrorist leader was neutralized during an encounter around Kimba in Damboa local government area of Borno State on January 30, 2026, adding that the development through ISWAP elements into the area into disarray, with several fighters reportedly eliminated. In another operation, troops working with the civilian joint task force neutralized 3 terrorists during an ambush between Ngazalang, Ghana and Lamusheri communities in Borno State. 2 AK-47 rifles were recovered, while other insurgents fled with gunshot injuries. Similarly, on January 29, troops in an ambush position at Sokorok in Gwoza local government area engaged Boko Haram and ISWAP terrorists, neutralizing 1 insurgent and recovering 2 motorcycles with no casualties recorded on the side of the troops. On January 28, troops alongside local vigilantes conducted a fighting patrol along the Amtasa Washim axis in Hong local government area of Adamawa State. During the operation, a woman abducted by terrorists was rescued, while arms and ammunition were recovered. The military said the operations form part of ongoing efforts to deny terrorists freedom of movement and degrade their operational capabilities across the theater. The National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party, led by Abdulrahman Mohammed, has welcomed the Federal High Court judgment nullifying the party's November 2025 convention and restraining Tanimu Turaki and others from parading themselves as party officials. The judgment was delivered on Friday by the Ibadan Division of the Federal High Court, which nullified the conduct, outcome and entire proceedings of the convention that produced the Turaki-led executive. The court also recognized the Mohammed-led Caretaker Working Committee as legitimate leadership of the party. In a statement, the group's National Publicity Secretary, Jungunda Mohammed, described the ruling as a victory for the rule of law, constitutionalism and internal party democracy. According to the statement, the judgment reaffirmed that party's leadership must emerge strictly in line with the PDP constitution, existing laws and valid court orders rather than through what it described as unlawful claims of authority. The Mohammed-led committee congratulated PDP members and supporters for their patience and resilience throughout the legal process and urged them to remain calm, law-abiding and united. It also appealed to aggrieved members to embrace reconciliation, stressing that the ruling should strengthen unity, deepen internal cohesion and refocus efforts towards building a stronger PDP. The group further commended the judiciary for acting as an impartial arbiter in political and constitutional disputes. African Democratic Congress has called on the National Assembly to urgently pass the Electoral Bill 2025, warning that further delays could undermine key reforms and strengthen the credibility of the 2027 general elections. In a statement issued on Saturday, the party's publicity secretary Bolaji Abdullahi accused the APC-led Senate of deliberately delaying the bill and cautioned against attempts to weaken or stall reforms such as electronic voter accreditation and electronic transmission of results. The ADC's reaction follows the inauguration of a 7-member Senate ad hoc committee tasked with reviewing and harmonizing lawmakers' contributions to the proposed amendments to the Electoral Act. The ADC, however, expressed concern that the slow pace of legislative action could signal an attempt to stall amendments designed to curb election rigging. The party warned that some proposed changes, introduce new compliance and eligibility requirements that political parties and the Independent National Electoral Commission may struggle to understand and implement if the bill is passed too close to the elections. It noted that existing provisions such as the requirement for INEC to push election notices at least 360 days before a general election leave little room for further delay. The ADC urged the National Assembly to act swiftly, stressing that any further postponement could seriously undermine the integrity of the 2027 elections. The party also called on civil society organizations, international partners and other political parties to pressure lawmakers to ensure the timely passage of the bill, warning that Nigeria cannot afford another disputed or controversial election cycle. And now some business news. United States and Nigeria have announced renewed efforts to strengthen bilateral trade and investment relations with a strong emphasis on private sector-led growth. The development was disclosed in a statement issued on Friday by the United States Embassy in Nigeria following the U.S.-Nigeria Commercial and Investment Partnership Ministerial held in Lagos. The meeting was co-chaired by the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Commercial Services at the U.S. Department of Commerce, Bradley Mickney, and Nigeria's Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Jumoke Oduwole. The ministerial forms part of the U.S.-Nigeria Commercial and Investment Partnership, a 5-year framework designed to expand two-way trade and investment and promote sustainable private sector-driven economic growth. Both governments reviewed priority reforms proposed by working groups on agriculture, digital economy and infrastructure made up of U.S. and Nigerian private sector leaders. Recommendations are aimed at improving the business climate and removing barriers to trade and investment. Nigeria is currently the United States' second largest trading partner in Africa, with bilateral trade valued at nearly $13 billion in 2024. U.S. foreign direct investment in Nigeria stood at $7.9 billion in the same year, representing a 25% increase from 2023. You're also watching the news on Atlantic Television Network. Up next is international tidbits. Military junta in Guinea-Bissau has stopped efforts to arrest a senior opposition politician who had been on the run, an opposition official said on Saturday, even as another key opposition figure was placed under house arrest. The junta seized power on November 26 after overthrowing President Umaru Sissoco Embalo, suspending the electoral process shortly after the presidential election and before official results were announced. Embalo fled the country following the terror takeover. His main rival in the election, Fernando Diaz, avoided arrest by seeking refuge at the Nigerian embassy. On Saturday, his communications manager said most restrictions placed on Diaz had been lifted, though he remains barred from public statements and political activities. However, another opposition leader, Domingos Simios Pereira, was placed under house arrest after being released from prison on Friday following months in detention. Army Commander Jogito Biak said all individuals detained in connection with the coup had been released, adding that Pereira's house arrest was linked to alleged economic crimes and was now before the judiciary. Pereira, the head leader of the PAIGC party that led Guinea-Bissau to independence in 1974, was disqualified from the presidential election but later backed Diaz. The Economic Community of West African States welcomed recent steps by the transitional authorities, but called for Pereira's full release and urged all stakeholders to work towards a peaceful transition and democratic elections. The United States government has entered a partial shutdown after Congress failed to approve a 2026 budget before the midnight deadline. The funding lapse followed a breakdown in negotiations over money for the Department of Homeland Security after Democratic lawmakers raised objections linked to the killing of 2 protesters in Minneapolis by federal immigration agents. About 3/4 of federal government operations are affected, with agencies across education, health, housing, and defense beginning shutdown procedures. However, congressional leaders say the disruptions is likely to be brief. The Senate has already passed a funding package covering most federal agencies through September, along with a 2-week stopgap measure to keep the Department of Homeland Security running while immigration policy talks continue. The House of Representatives, which was not in session when the deadline expired, is expected to reconvene early next week to ratify the deal. President Donald Trump has backed the Senate agreement and urged swift House action to avoid a prolonged shutdown, which would be the second of his current term. Senate Democratic leaders blamed the impasse on concerns over immigration enforcement, while Republican Senator Lindsey Graham lifted a procedural block after securing commitments on future immigration-related legislation. If the shutdown extends beyond a few days, tens of thousands of federal workers could face unpaid leave or be required to work without pay until funding is restored. The Office of the Management and Budget has directed federal agencies to prepare for an orderly shutdown, expressing hope that this disruption will be short-lived. And here now is ATN Sports News. Super Eagles striker Victor Osimhen has expressed heartfelt condolences to national teammates Samuel Chukwueze and Wilfred Ndidi following the recent loss of their parents. On January 7, reports emerged that Ndidi's father, Sunday Ndidi, died after being knocked down by a vehicle in Umunede near Agbo, Delta State. The Nigeria Football Federation later issued a condolence message to the Leicester City midfielder. While the football committee was still mourning Ndidi's loss, news broke on Thursday that Chukwueze had also lost his mother after a brief illness. Her death was confirmed in a statement by the National Sports Commission. Both players are known to have shared close bonds with their parents. Ndidi had earlier paid tribute to his father with a Nwankwo-Kanu-style celebration during the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations, while Chukwueze has consistently honored his mother through social media and charitable initiatives. Joining the growing list of tributes, Osimhen took to social media to express solidarity with his teammates, describing them as his brothers and offering prayers for strength and comfort during the difficult period. President Bola Tinubu also extended condolences to the players and their families, assuring them of his prayers and support while wishing eternal rest for the departed. Chukwueze, who featured for Nigeria at the recent Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco, where the Super Eagles finished third, is yet to issue a public statement on his loss. And now entertainment news. Nollywood actress and filmmaker Funke Akindele has taken to social media to address conversations around movie marketing in the Nigerian film industry. The actress, widely known for her energetic, dance-driven and comedic promotional style, said she is not responsible for holding anyone back from and believes success in Nollywood is big enough for everyone to share. In a series of posts on her Instagram story on Saturday, Akindele stated that the sky is big enough for everyone to fly, urging her colleagues to focus on their own creative paths rather than comparisons. She encouraged filmmakers who may not align with her marketing approach to develop alternative strategies or hire professionals to promote their films effectively. According to her, opportunities in the industry are endless and every creative has a unique journey. She added that she remains focused on her own path and trusts in God's plan for her career. Funke Akindele currently holds the records as Nollywood's highest grossing filmmaker with the top 3 highest earning movies in the industry. Her 2025 release Behind the Scenes has grossed over 2.4 billion naira and is still counting. Everybody Loves Jennifer, released in 2024, earned over 1.8 billion naira, while A Tribe Called Judah, released in 2023, grossed more than 1.4 billion naira. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, and a look at the major stories. Rivers government denies blocking renewed Hope Stadium rally. Ondo police dismantle human trafficking network, rescue victims. Tinubu calls for reactivation of regional standby force. Nigeria-US deepen commercial partnership for economic growth. US government enters partial shutdown after budget deadlock. Osimhen consoles Chukwueze in the over parents' death. Actress Funke Akindele slams critics over dancing marketing style. And I am Favor Chikwasir Michael. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on social media platforms on Twitter and X at Atlantic TV Network, on Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, and on Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. And don't forget, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. To have a wonderful night rest.